Y'all, Wizard101 just had an update, and one of the things they did involves a pretty massive change to the first arc of the main Wizard101 storyline. You know these worlds, you love these worlds. We're talking about Wizard City through Dragonspire. There's been a pretty massive update to the questing experience going through those worlds. And I've actually seen a lot of different takes on this. Some people are calling it a good thing, some people are calling it a bad thing. So I thought it was worth making a video about it. So, right, as of 2 days ago, according to the patch notes, Arc 1 main storyline quests have been changed so that once you get through Dragonspire, if you only do the main storyline quest, it'll still be enough to get you to level 50. That means, for example, right, because Mushu is a 4th world in this arc, on average, you're gonna be level 30 when you start Mushu, level 40 when you finish Mushu, you're gonna be level 40 when you start Dragonspire, you're gonna be level 50 when you finish it, which I would argue is kind of the biggest change that comes out of this. Now, I think there's actually two major reasons why they did this change, because I feel like this kind of seems out of the blue unless you know the context. It's crazy to say this, but for a while now, Wizard101 has been adding stuff that you can do as a level 50, including an entire level band where you can PvP against other level 50s. It seems to be like a checkpoint of sorts, and that's why all this gear that we used to consider, like, you know, the best loot in the game, it's been upgraded, so it's way better. We have level 50 gear that gives universal resist from mouse there, it gives pins, it gives you the ability to dual school, and additionally, they've tied a lot of this new gear with access to weaving as a level 50. That's like the stuff that they did with the Selenopolis update. All this weaving stuff, right, like, you know, like secondary school picking and learning other spells, I think they've made it like such that you're supposed to be level 50 when you start all of this, and you're supposed to access it after Dragonspire. With all of these changes that they're doing, I actually think it makes a lot of sense that there's a reasonable expectation you should be level 50 by the time you're done with Dragonspire. Now, the second reason that I think that they probably did this is because a lot of people, especially those that don't interact with side worlds like Wisteria, like Grizzleheim, right, these are worlds that you could do on your way to level 50, right? There's no reason to like skip these, especially because of Winter Tusk, and honestly Wisteria is just fun, right? People that skip these during their playthrough of the first arc, it's very likely that they'll enter Celestia as like a level 44, level 45, right? If you go to the friendly tab, you'll literally see this, right? This Nikita Death Note dude, level 47, he's already in the grotto, meaning he probably got a level already since starting Celestia at least, right? For some people, doing the main storyline and being under level for a world, I guess it poses too big of a challenge. So clearly there are some positives to the fact that we're getting more XP for running through all of Arc 1, right? We're getting a more logical access to things like weaving, gear, the difficulty matches more up with your level when you get into Celestia. But I also think that an update like this actually sidelines a part of the PvE community that's a lot bigger than people give it credit for. And I'm talking about people that actually like things like side quests, actually want to do things like, you know, future worlds, and not be like crazy over leveled. Right, Wiz has really, I think, changed their tune on how side quests, you know, how side quests weigh against, like, you know, the main storyline. When Wiz first came out, right, you actually couldn't get to level 50 without doing side quests. If you've been playing the game since the beginning, you probably know this. It wasn't actually until Grizzleheim came out and Wisteria came out that we actually had more access to XP outside of the main storyline. And things like Winter Tusk really exploded the amount of XP that you could get for doing side worlds, meaning you would actually have a real inbuilt incentive to do stuff outside of the main vanilla storyline. Compare that to the most recent example of side content, which is actually technically Selenopolis, and it's like a full-ass 180, right? When Darkmoor comes out and 180 is a level cap, in the future anyways, people will be 170. They'll have to do all of Selenopolis and do a bunch of quests that give them no XP because it's technically side content. And then finally they can regain access to XP when they do Darkmoor again. That's basically the direction that they've gone. And I think in the long term, that's kind of sad because side worlds, they build on the universe. We got Grandmother Raven from Winter Tusk, which became an integral part of Imperia and every other part of the lore that we've known since then. And yet, if you're a main storyline Andy, you have no interaction with this at all. You miss out on a really cool part of the universe building, and just because it's a side world, it kind of gets brushed aside. And while I'm using Grizzleheim and Wintertusk and even Wisteria as just examples of, like, you know, side content that you could do, this is not even mentioning all the side quests that probably people are going to ignore till the end of time at this point. But there's no reason to do Dragonspire or Mushu quests. If you're already going to get to level 50, there's no reason to interact with any of the stuff that they added that wasn't purely main storyline. Along with that, you will have people over leveled now, right? If the main storyline is 50, anything that you do, farming a dungeon a second time, maybe actually doing like waterworks, or maybe, I don't know, maybe daring to do Wintertusk, you'll be so over leveled that the difficulty, which has gotten easier and easier over the years, it's only gonna get easier. This little watered down difficulty thing, it's not, like, I think unintentional. Wiz has basically done this update after another update where they already audited Celestia. I've actually been doing Celestia recently, and I think a lot of people used to be frustrated at being like level 40 something going into Celestia because of what a difficulty spike it used to be. It was kind of an exciting difficulty spike, right? You have new stats like critical, you have higher HP minions, you have, like, you know, a big bad foe named Morgant that's using all kinds of new magic, right? It's supposed to be a real shift, and yet they have butchered the difficulty in this world. The bosses have way less XP. Nothing, not bosses, not minions, nothing can actually critical anymore in this world as long as you run a little block, or maybe they don't crit, period. I ran a little bit of block, so I can't really verify this, but to my knowledge, nothing can crit other than the Trial of Spheres bosses, which is crazy for the world that's supposed to introduce you to crit. As if all of those nerfs weren't enough, the ice mobs, instead of tower shielding, they only stun block. So they did that last update and then made it so that everyone is on average way higher level, so therefore they're higher HP and they'll have access to better gear. You have all of that added on to the easiness of the world as well. It's so weird. I would have loved to see them keep Celestia's old difficulty with these changes instead of going this route, because at least it would have felt a little justified. But yes, more and more with every update, I'll say it with chest, the game is just getting so much easier to the point where difficulty doesn't even exist anymore. At the end of the day, I'm not really asking for them to revert this as a player. I'm sure there are some people that really do benefit from this, so it's not like one of those updates that I think they need to revert or anything. But I really do think they have to revisit the few ways that they do, like, you know, give you in order to, like, actually maintain some level of difficulty if you want to challenge on your second or third playthrough, right? They added things like challenge mode, but they're not challenging, they're just more annoying. The one way that you have to moderate your own difficulty is by level locking. That's the one thing that you could do, but even level locking isn't a solution when it comes to people wanting to maintain difficulty, because this is how level locking works, right? Let's say that I'm a level 30 and I find things a little bit easy because maybe I'm a little bit over leveled, maybe because I dare to do some of the side content that I paid membership for, right? Maybe I'm, like, you know, at the beginning of Marleybone and I'm getting close to level 30, maybe I'll lock my level. Fast forward, maybe I locked my level at 30, maybe I'm nearing the middle of Mushu and I want, you know, my level to catch up to the difficulty again because now things are getting a little too unrealistic. If I were to unlock my level though, it would take all the XP that I've gained since I level locked and I would be unable to actually pick which level that I start off at. By the time I unlocked my level, who knows, I might be level 40 when I actually wanted to be level 35 for the sake of actually, you know, having some reasonable difficulty. There's no way to moderate how much level locking gives you in terms of levels when you eventually choose to unlock. So therefore, it's a very, very incomplete feature. I feel like for people that do side worlds, there should be a setting where either you could, like, just set it so you get less XP, which I think is kind of stupid, or just a way to scale yourself down without an elixir, none of that temporary nonsense, just scale yourself down to the appropriate level based on where you are in the storyline. I think that would be nice for at least people that want to challenge, especially considering how much easier everything has gotten. But on that topic, I really hope that they chill out, because Arc 2 might be the last, like, you know, semblance of anything that involves not just blade AoEing. You know, like, once you're after level 100, it's just blade AoE. Once you're past the early worlds, it's still kind of blade AoE, right? Arc 2, they at least went out of their way to add some, like, you know, different bosses, some cheats here and there, some, like, you know, HP that's, like, kind of wild. While I'm not really a fan of a lot of the more tedious quests, like, I think there's way too much minion interactions in, like, Chrysalis, Azteca, and all of that. If they keep watering down everything, I just think it's gonna be brain dead. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one who feels this way, but I do think there should be something that's left for people that want something outside of just the very, very casual PvE experience. I don't want this video to be like a slam on any of the casual PvEers, because I do think they're the majority of the people that play Wiz. I actually don't mind if the base version of the game is easier. I just think there needs to be more options for people that want something closer to what they kind of grew up with, which was a little bit more of a challenge, especially when you're lower level and if you're earlier in the storyline. Definitely kind of a mixed bag, especially considering all the other changes that they've done around XP and levels to begin with. But I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts on this. I hope that y'all don't think that I'm on one side or another. I just thought it was kind of a gray area type of thing based on all the opinions that I've seen. But let me know what y'all think. Do y'all like this change? Do y'all think it's bad? Do y'all think it's good? Look forward to reading all of y'all's thoughts and comments on this. Drop a like if you enjoyed. Leave a sub if you're new. Let me know what y'all want me to cover in the recent update next. Stay awesome, y'all. See y'all soon. And yeah, y'all.